This is my father, Robert Gordon. He is nearly 91 years old, and he's always been a remarkable person, a loving husband and father. In his younger day, he was quite an athlete.
Dad, did you ever play baseball in high school?
He's still an athlete,
No?
but he's a very different person than he used to be.
Just basketball?
Basketball, football,
And football and track, right?
and track, yeah.
What'd you do in track?
Shot.
Oh, that's why you're so good at that throwing.
In March of 1993, the newly retired corporate lawyer suffered a massive heart attack, and the result put him into a coma with a slim chance of survival.
I remember talking to the doctor at in the cardiac ICU and asking what Dad's odds were for living. And he said 5%.
But he came out of it, albeit with some significant cognitive and physical challenges. He had to relearn to walk, to write, to get dressed again. He would never drive again, play tennis, or go on a hike. He had no short-term memory and little long-term memory. He might not remember his friends' names, know his wife's birthday, or even the day of the week. He was a very different man, a second version of our dad. It's been 25 years since I had my first dad. Recently, I realized it was hard to remember as much as I wanted to about Dad before the heart attack. I can't remember what it was like to get advice from him, to talk politics, to hear him muse, sing, and tell stories. I want to remember Dad and process this change. I'm his oldest son, Steve, and that's why I'm making this film. Dad was born in Price, Utah to Sarah and Harry Gordon. His family of 6 comprised 100% of the Jewish population in a predominantly Catholic coal mining town. But my father wasn't treated as an outsider. He had many friends and an active social life. He did well in school and excelled at sports.
The dinosaur ball carriers.
Bob Gordon was the best. Wow, that's pretty good.
He played football, track, and basketball. He broke a Utah high school record for most points in a game, 39, and his prowess as a running back even shaped his experience at the end of World War II. My father was stationed in the Azores, a clerk with the 42nd Airborne Command. The captain of his base put together a team, and my father was drafted to be a running back. He was a star on the team, doing his best fighting in the war on the gridiron, making his captain proud. Returning home from his war/football duties, he decided to forego sports and study law at the University of Utah. In 1947, at 20 years old, he fell head over heels for a young beauty, my mother, Roseanne Klein. In my siblings' eyes, it's still hard to fathom. Our strict grandfather allowed his 15-year-old daughter to cavort with a 20-year-old? Dad's abundant charm and the fact that he was a law school student apparently softened the old man's heart.
When I first met Dad, he was the hot new man in town. When I saw Bob, I decided he was the one to get the date with, so he did ask me out for the next weekend. And we had a good time, and he said, how about next week? And I said, why don't we make it the week after, because it's my birthday and I'd love to go out on my birthday. And he said, well, let's do both. And that started 5 years of dating, and 65 years later, we still like each other's company.
Why did you and Mom have these matching outfits? Huh?
God, I don't know.
Do you think that was her idea or your idea?
Oh,
Isn't it strange that college kids have matching outfits? Or was that just true love of some kind?
I don't know.
A young, determined attorney marries the beautiful University of Utah homecoming queen, and they start a new life. The first version of Dad was married to Mom for 40 years. Our second dad, 25 years. That's 65 years of marriage they celebrated this year. Dad and Mom made a very happy family, consisting of 3 children and various dogs. We had a good life with many happy memories of family vacations, celebrations, and memories of his love and sage guidance through the trials and tribulations of growing up in the 60s and 70s.
I am sentimental. Gary and his older brother and sister used to give me a very bad time when they were younger, and I used to cry watching such great dramatic presentations as Marcus Welby, MD.
He was a very good father and a very good husband. When we first started out, we lived in a one-bedroom apartment, and the bedroom was like a closet, and all three of us managed to sleep in there. He would get up with the baby, and we kept looking for a house and finally found our second house first and lived there for 30 years.
One of my fondest memories of Dad is when he would come home after work and we would go out in front of the house, and he would go across the street and I'd be on the other side of the street, and we would throw a softball, a football. He taught me to throw a spiral, mean spiral, and a frisbee, back and forth, and sometimes we'd set a goal of hitting 100, and one way or the other, we'd always meet our goal. So it was really a fun time with Dad.
My name is Ralph Merriman. I am just short of 96 years old. 95 3/4 or 9/8 or whatever. My best description of Bob is he was a very strong person. He was strong intellectually, but he was also physically strong. He was athletic. He was interested in tennis.
Dad and I did play in a local tournament together called the No Champs Tournament, and we played father-daughter, and we won, and they put a picture of us holding our trophies that I cherish to this day in his company magazine.
So how come you never beat Bob at singles?
I have never beaten Bob in singles. He was a great doubles partner, pulled me through.
And he's very competitive. He didn't like to lose, and I didn't like to lose. He was a great tennis player, had no form at all. He was self-taught. One particular time, I really wanted to beat him, and I gave it everything I had, and I think it was probably right at the end, a very important point, and I would not let up. I chased the ball, and I would dive, and I would get cut up, and it didn't matter. I was going to get the ball back to him. And after a number of shots on a long point, I remember hitting one, and he didn't go for it. And I thought, what is going on? Well, he's going to let me win this point. And I looked at him, and he was in tears because he was laughing so hard that I was able to run around and get that ball.
He was an amazing father and an amazing lawyer.
One of my greatest memories of Dad is when I was 16 years old, and I had a javelin, a car turned in front of me, and so I hit it, and the police officer responding to the scene gave me a ticket. I came home, I was very upset. I told my dad what happened, and he said, well, let's fight it. And I said, really? He says, yep, let's go to court. And he proceeded to make an incredible case that to me made him look like Perry Mason. I was astounded at how skillful he was. He kept drilling the officer with questions. The officer got more and more flustered, and the judge reversed the ticket. I was innocent and free, and I thought my dad is the greatest lawyer in history.
After 10+ years as a trial lawyer, he made a significant career change, trading private practice for corporate law, and he soon rose up to the executive ranks, enjoying a 17-year career with Utah Power and Light Company, retiring as Senior VP at age 64.
Well, I want to say that I've had such a good time with you people tonight that I've changed my mind. And then I said, dummy, you got to give back the gifts. So I guess not.
He was enjoying the beginning of a long-awaited retirement. A few months later, on a cold winter night, watching the NBA All-Star Game with Mom, things forever changed. My father slumped on the couch and thus begun a journey of extreme medical crisis, sadness, loss, modern medicine, and a miracle. He awoke from his week-long coma. He was back. Well, at least part of him was back.
I see people in the hall and say, my God, you still here?
But when he very first regained consciousness, and he was all hooked up, and I was standing by his bedside and holding his hands, and he opened his eyes, and tears started coming down. And I had not seen my father cry, and I asked the doctor, you know, what does this mean? It seemed to me like he recognized me, and he's tried to say it was just an automatic response or something. But to this day, I believe that my dad saw me and started crying.
So when he did come out of it, I was incredibly happy, and I was incredibly hopeful. And I was hopeful that he would, you know, come back and kind of be the same guy. But, you know, that wasn't to be, and we quickly saw that as my brother and I, you know, worked on helping him to walk again. And he was the same person inside, and he still, you know, we did a lot of the things that we could see his innate humor was still there even when he first came out. He would, you know, kind of do something sarcastic, but, you know, he was a completely different guy.
This is the end of one era and the beginning of a new one.
As he recovered, we witnessed many of the same innate physical traits and demeanor of the old Dad. He laughed like he used to, smiled the same sweet smile, kept his easygoing, fun personality, and his great sense of humor. Dad, how's your hearing aid working?
What was that? Fine.
Without your glasses, can you see okay?
Sure.
All right, how many fingers am I holding out?
4.
What'd you do yesterday?
Not much.
What are you going to do today?
Not much.
What are you going to do tomorrow?
Not much.
Dad, were you always a funny guy?
A funny guy.
Yeah.
Well, I've always I've always found the humor in things.
He always wants to pick up the check at a restaurant, but simply can't comprehend that a 10% tip isn't okay anymore. He's also compelled to turn off every light switch to conserve power. Many things in his nature before, and we love those things about him. All their married lives, my parents followed the traditional husband-wife roles of the 50s. Although my mother did work outside the home, her main job was taking care of our home and the kids. Dad was the breadwinner, paid the bills, did the taxes, mowed the lawn, took care of the cars, and did all the family driving. Suddenly, with our new dad, my mom would essentially do it all.
And we sort of thought we might go up there and sit in those rocking chairs. It'll be a little change in lifestyle, but if you can just somehow get yourself seated in the rocking chair, I'll help you get it started.
I learned to do a lot of things that I never knew I would be able to do. When we left the hospital, we were told that he would advance and then reach a plateau and advance and reach a plateau, and after a year, he would not advance anymore. That was really not true. He didn't advance for a long time, and then he did make great strides. Unfortunately, through the years, some of the progress disappeared again, but I was grateful for what we had and the fact that he was so easy to get along with.
Whatever modicum of success I may have attained in private practice or corporate practice would not have been possible without the love and support of my roommate for these past 36 years, Roseanne. And this is nothing new to her, because I haven't waited all this time to tell her that. I tell her periodically, and I suggest you do the same thing.
Who's the boss, you or Mom?
Mom.
With all his heart, he loves his wife, depends on her, and understands her incredible strength that sustains him.
Who knows 10?
I know 10.
For the past 25 years, we've had the new dad. He's one of the sweetest men you could know. He forever smiles and is always pleasant to be around. Even if he forgets a grandchild's name, they would hardly suspect it, because he treats each as if they were the light in his eyes with genuine fondness and love.
I don't know that I ever came to terms with the fact that Dad would never be his old self. I think in my mind, I told myself that I lost my dad 24 years ago when he had his heart attack.
All right, so you got Kentucky, Dad? Is the capital of Kentucky pronounced Louisville or Louisville?
Neither.
Neither. And what is it then?
I don't know. Frankfurt.
Excellent. Dad does pretty well, considering both increasing physical and neurological challenges. He still succeeds at being a wonderful father, husband, and grandfather.
Yes.
If only he could process thoughts like he used to. He remembers some things. Do you remember your old phone number?
No.
Yes, you do.
Phone?
Yeah, start with a 4.
484 8230.
You got it.
You
It's in
are
there,
good,
Dad.
Dad.
It's in there.
But other things are difficult.
So what's your favorite kind of food?
I don't know.
Say you're a condemned man and it was your last supper. You'd have double portion even.
Oh, God, I don't know.
Pizza?
No,
Fried chicken?
corned beef.
Corned beef. Okay, you like corned beef. All right. Corned beef it is. You get corned beef, cabbage, French fries, mashed potatoes.
Dad does have many special skills. He can polish off an apple right down to the core.
That's it?
Yeah,
That's all that's left of that apple?
that's all.
That's nearly everything. You're an expert, Dad, at eating apples for sure.
He's also an expert newspaper reader. He can read a newspaper all day long.
Now what are you reading?
About cars.
Oh, cars.
He can't drive, but he loves cars. He made a collage of all his beloved chariots.
How many feet in a mile?
5,000.
Yep.
200.
Yep.
And 80.
What city do I live in?
Who are you?
Dad is a real family man. That is what he cares about most, and the annual reunion in Park City is one of his favorites.
I was a little kid and I was running around your house and I think like tossing the ball against the wall, just being normal, annoying little Rob. And you turn to Grandma and you go, what's his name again? And Grandma goes, he's named after you, Bob. And you say, why would you name a little kid Bob?
Happy birthday.
This year, he is turning 91. Dad today is still my hero, and he's one of the most pleasant, warm, wonderful people I know, and you just always want to be around him. He always has a smile for you, and pat on your leg. He's just a sweet, sweet person. I admire him for that, because it's got to be hard not remembering things, but he makes an effort at it. He does so well. I wish everybody was like that.
He is such a nice guy when he could be so angry and so mad about what happened to him, and he's a sweetheart.
My takeaway from Dad is that life is fleeting and moments are fleeting, and he lives a very Zen, what I call a Zen existence, because it's moment to moment, and I think that's something we can all learn from.
Today he still smiles a lot. He is good at bluffing that he understands what's going on, but he's not able to comprehend nearly as much as I wish he could. What inspires me is the fact that he takes all of that in stride, doesn't get angry about it. He stays good-natured and cooperative and is someone who's easy to love.
And he lives in each and every moment, whether talking to my mom, reading the paper, eating his beloved Reuben sandwich.
How is it, Dad?
Delicious.
Watching a movie or petting his dog. That time is a fleeting event. He does not remember what preceded and does not consider what will follow. He takes advantage of the moment in a way that could be a lesson to all of us.
We're down to the wire now, and I do have some very great, fond memories.
Dad, how would you sum up your life?
I've had a very good life.
and a great family.
These moments of life are what the rest of us readily admit to taking for granted. I know Dad doesn't, and he shows it.
I get very sentimental at things like this, and as some of you know. And Melinda said, "You're not going to cry tonight, are you?" And I'll try not to, but I am sentimental.
This is why our love for our dad before and after is so profound and enduring. He's the one and only Bob Gordon, and he'll always be remembered, both the dad and husband before and the dad, husband, and grandfather today. It's a pure love, and none of us, including Dad, will ever forget.